As we go into the academic sessions, we will have the keynote address first, and we will roll straight into session 1, which has 2 speakers. But before we start that, I'm going to request our president, Shri Samir Somaiya, to felicitate our honorary faculty who were associated with us from the earliest days. Without their support and their continuing engagement, we really would not have had a PhD program in the way the university, within the framework. When you have young faculty, it takes a while to build up capacity. And these scholars gave freely of their time, their sagacity, and they continue to remain with us. We are deeply honored by their presence, not just in the institute, but in our lives. Shri Samir Somaiya ji, may I please request you to felicitate Dr Meena Talim, who has come here despite indifferent health. She does come for our functions, and she's always there at the end of a phone line. Basun rahu de go, chalel. Basun rahu de. Basa, basa. Dr A P Jamkhedkar, he is now the chairperson of the Indian Council for Historical Research. He has been a guide and mentor, just like Dr Talim, very freely advising each one of us, and when the occasion demands it, we have also got rapped on the knuckles. It's been a privilege, really. Professor N.N. Joshi recently retired. He has guided a number of students in the field of Sanskrit. Professor Joshi continues to give us his inputs on how we may do our tasks better. We are indebted to all of them. And a big hand for the 3. And I hand over the session now for Kavita to run. Thank you.
Welcome back. We now move to our keynote session. May I invite on stage our keynote speaker, the Rector of Hangzhou Buddhist Academy, Dr Huang Zheng. May I also invite on stage our chair for the session, Dr A P Jamkhedkar. The keynote session will be followed by the first session of the conference. May I also invite on stage Professor Charles Willemen and Dr Li-Ling. Thank you. I'll now introduce our chairperson, Dr A P Jamkhedkar. Dr A P Jamkhedkar is chairperson, ICHR, and former Chancellor of Deccan College, Postgraduate and Research Institute, Pune. He is an archaeologist, Indologist, and art historian of repute. He has served as Director of State Archaeology and Museums, Maharashtra, and has also held the post of Director, KJ Somaiya Center for South and Southeast Asian Studies. He's published many research papers in eminent journals, and one of his most recent works is Ajanta, published by OUP in 2008. It is now my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Wang Chung. Dr. Huang Zheng is Distinguished Professor, Faculty of Fine Arts, and Director of the Center of Dunhuang Studies, Nanjing Normal University. He received a PhD in Chinese literature in 1993. His areas of specialization include philology of Chinese classical literature, etymology of Chinese, etymology of Dunhuang linguistics, history of Chinese arts, calligraphy, popular forms of characters and dialectical sounds of ancient Chinese, narrative literature of Dunhuang, and characters and calligraphy of Dunhuang. His publications include Annotation on the Collection of Dunhuang Bainwen, Dictionary of Literature and History, Dictionary of Phraseology of Dunhuang Literature, Collection of Benedictions from Dunhuang. He is the editor of Buddhist Stories from Dunhuang, Sagas from Dunhuang, Wisdom Story from Dunhuang, Filial Piety Stories from Dunhuang, all published by Zhejiang University, and he has also edited many texts for the Dunhuang Buddhist Writing Sutras series. We now begin the session. Sir, may I invite you, Dr. Wang Chung, to deliver the keynote address.
今天在座的都是专家学者，我是门外汉哈。那么主办方希望我代表这个杭州佛学院先讲一点，那么我抛砖引玉啊，这个请大家指教。这个我讲的这个题目呢，叫做从瞻仰到临摹，再到创作啊，再到创造。中国佛教图像艺术三段论。在西方，大凡陈列着中国艺术品的博物馆，通常在入口的大厅中央都会留一个最大的空间来放置一尊中国古代的观音菩萨雕塑，可见西方人已经窥见东方这种奇特的传神艺术所具有的占据无限空间的能力。我们看到，尽管大厅的空间都很大，而雕塑却很小，但是这小小的雕塑却能使每一个观者感到它在这个空间里十分充盈耀眼。这就是所谓的雕塑的张力，我们也叫做艺术的光芒。其实具备了这种艺术光芒的作品，即使是放在野外或者空旷的广场上，也照样会使人感觉到一种如日中天般的四射光芒。这就是使西方学者百思不得其解的神秘的东方艺术的魅力。然而，中国古代留存下来的优秀作品比比皆是，如在敦煌、龙门、麦积山、云冈到处可见。中国的古代艺术与西方艺术的
The museum which display Chinese art works in the Western country often place an ancient Avalokitesvara sculpture in the center of the entrance hall. This shows the magical spirit emanating from the Eastern art pieces takes up infinite space. Although such sculptures are small, they can still shine and stand out in the huge hall. This feature is called the tensile force of sculpture, or the radiant light of art. In Chinese traditional art, in fact, any sculpture having such an artistic radiant light would emanate their sun-like brilliant radiance even when they are placed in wilds or empty squares, which can be seen from excellent ancient Chinese arts works from many places in China, such as the grottos of Moga, Longmen, Mount Maichi, and Yukang. However, it should be noted that such a mystical charm of Eastern artist works has puzzled Western scholars greatly.
东方中国的古代艺术与西方艺术的塑造审美是截然不同的。东方塑造的是心中的形体，而西方塑造的是眼睛所能见到的形体。准确地说，古代中国艺术从一开头便是从神思开始，继而仍是造神写神。例如塑造佛像和菩萨像，按佛经所说，佛并不是单指人，而是一个境界，是指宇宙自然万物的一种永恒状态。所以佛教初期不准有佛像出现，认为佛是无法用塑造的雕塑表现的。后来人们渴望得到一种可视的偶像，于是呢就产生了佛像。为了表达这种能包容宇宙万物的永恒美，雕塑家便借助于人的形象和审美 来加以综合表现。当然，这种佛的境界在中国要到唐代才出现登峰造极的完美形式，即男女共性的理想美形式。我们看到唐代的佛像脸部五官却用女性的特征来表现，以示佛有仁慈的阴柔之美，但是在这女性化的脸上却要画上男性的胡子，来表示佛的阳刚之美和特有的威严。另外，佛像与菩萨像的上半身是男性的，肩宽为男性的2个头的比例，以表现佛的魁梧伟岸。胸部用男性宽厚的胸大肌来表现，所以即使袒胸也不会让人产生邪念。佛像与菩萨像的下半身则又以女性比例来塑造，以示佛有宇宙万物的孕育之美。所以佛教造像是非男非女，一男一女，所表现的是一个宇宙自然永恒的境界，这也是所谓的佛境。当然，更重要的是，作为一个艺术家、雕塑家，如果自己本身领悟不到这种境界，进入不到那种如佛陀一般自然平静的心态，那将永远无法真正塑造好佛像。令我们遗憾的是，自明清以来，西洋艺术的传入，把这一东方最优秀的艺术审美和塑造手法给丢失了。许多现在寺庙中的塑像不仅没有这种佛的境界，有的甚至成了西洋雕塑，因为在塑造时是以人为模特和西洋的审美来塑造的，这就大大丧失了原有的东方艺术的传承魅力。
There is a great difference in the aesthetic pursuit of creation between ancient Chinese arts and Western arts. In Eastern arts, sculpture are considered as the images of the artist, while they present the physical accuracy of the body in Western art. Specifically, Chinese arts has been focusing on the spirit of art pieces since its birth. For this reason, Chinese artists began their creation with the meditation of the spirit and then brought the spirit into their works. However, the Buddha and Bodhisattva are not only divine beings, but also symbols of eternal spiritual state of consciousness, according to the Buddhist doctrines. According to the Buddhist tradition in ancient India, it was prohibited to make any images of Buddha because sculptures could not express his divine spirit. However, later devotees were desirous to worship visible images so that Buddha's sculptures were created. To express the divine spirit and the eternal universal beauty of the Bodhisattva, ancient sculptures incorporated human image in their works with the high aesthetic techniques. Not until the Tang dynasty did the divine figures of Bodhisattva reach perfection with the ideal mixture of the male and female components. The face of Bodhisattva from the Tang dynasty has the female facial characters, as they were created to show his kindness and compassion. But the discordant mustache on his face was used consciously to display his impressive and dignified masculine power. Moreover, the upper portion of the body Bodhisattva was made of male figure, with the shoulder breadth with which equals to 2 heads to manifest his stalwart, and his chest was carved with thick pectoral, which would not lead to any evil mind of devotees, even he dresses low-cut outfit. The lower portion of body of Bodhisattva was in a female body shape, to show his beauty of nurturing life in the vast cosmos. Therefore, it is clear that gender of Bodhisattva is ambiguous, which can be non-male and non-female as well as masculine and feminine. We call his cosmic eternal state the realm of Bodhisattva, Buddha.
中国自古到今的真正佛教艺术家，他们的艺术创造 雕塑、绘画、写经各种形式类别，他们在最终完成作品之前，都是经历了一个趋近通幽的绵渺里程。我把这个过程的表述简化为3段论：瞻仰、临摹、创造。
Moreover, it should be mentioned that artists and the sculpture would never create excellent bodhisattva images if they fail to reach the realm and attain inner peace. Regrettably, in China, the ways of making such outstanding bodhisattva images are lost after Western sculpture were introduced. Nowadays, the realm of the bodhisattva can hardly be seen from the bodhisattva images in the most monasteries. These images are more of Western sculpture style because they were created under the influence of Western taste and techniques. That is, they use human body as therefore in creation which severely diminished mystical charm in sculpture stress in Western art. The true Buddhist artists in China from ancient to present have engaged themselves in any types of artworks such as sculpture, painting, or calligraphy. It is indispensable for them to experience long-term learning and practices before they finally completed their works. In my opinion, such a long process can be divided in 3 stages: to look with reverence, to copy, and to create.
首先，中国的佛教艺术家都是虔诚的佛教皈依者，无论是出家人还是在家居士，拜师父受三皈依戒，还是自发崇敬三宝，他们由内心深处真心瞻仰佛菩萨，天长日久，潜移默化，逐渐的使佛菩萨的形象烙印在心，成为自己心的一体。虔诚心是中国佛教艺术家成为真正大师的必备根基。那些缺乏虔诚之心，靠机器制造出来的佛菩萨像是没有灵魂的。其次，中国佛教艺术家心中的佛菩萨像都是来自遥远的佛教发源地印度等东南亚国家或地区，他们身心的佛菩萨不是自己想象的，都是有来历的。他们由虔诚瞻仰而进入到学习临摹。早期的佛教传入中国都是这样这个有样稿或实物请进来，所以依据很可靠。我们在秋子石窟等最靠近西边的地方所见壁画与雕塑，就是接近印度的原作。临摹是中国佛教艺术家的必由之路。那些未经历临摹学习就凭空想象制造的佛像、菩萨像，几乎无法保证不被歪曲篡改。
First, all these Chinese Buddhist artists are devout Buddhist, either as monks or lay devotees. They look at the great art pieces of Buddha and Bodhisattva. Both heartfeltly reverence from the bottom of their heart at the very beginning until these images are imprinted in their mind as if they were inherent. Devotion is necessary in the path to be great master of Chinese Buddhist art. There is no artistic soul or spirit of the Buddha and Bodhisattva images, which can be created by the artist without devotion or machine. Second, to copy, as most images of Bodhisattva were originated from India and Southeast Asian countries. Chinese Buddhist artists strongly believe that these images were not imagination of earlier artists. Instead, they had their own causes. When earlier Buddhism came to China, the sample manuscripts or material objects were brought to China simultaneously, which were authentic sources for Buddhist artworks. Mural paintings and sculptures from Chu's grottos in the Western China are more of the style of Indian Buddhist works. Therefore, it was natural that Chinese artists copied these images. No one can deny the possibility of that images created by artists who did not learn to copy were distorted and mutilated.
第三阶段呢，就是创造。艺术家的作品必须是创造，没有创造就没有艺术。但是佛菩萨像的创造是必须保持其精神实质的创造，甚至在外观上也不能随意改变。 这种创造是真正的创造。有时只有艺术家们自己才能体会到这种创造的意境，这就是东方佛教的传神艺术。然后呢，例如我们杭州佛学院著名佛教艺术家谢承水先生的作品，就让我们感受到了中国古代艺术在今天的创造中重新放射出的耀眼光芒。
Third, to creation makes artistic works, and no arts can emerge without creation. However, it is not the same cause in the creation for creating Bodhisattva images, because his spirit and exterior must be strictly kept in any forms of creation. Such inexpressible state of spiritual creation, or we may call it spirit of art, could only be experienced by the artist. For example, the Bodhisattva images created by Professor Xie Chengshui from Hangzhou Buddhist Academy reveal the spirit and radiance of ancient Chinese Buddhist art.
谢承水先生早在1984年便孤身一人应敦煌研究院之聘而远赴沙漠中的敦煌莫高窟，在那里潜心研究中国10个朝代1000余年的佛教艺术。他虽然学习西洋油画多年，但他却在寂静的莫高窟中顿悟到祖国佛教艺术的伟大神奇。20多年美好光阴在寂寞与清明中悄悄消逝，而谢承水先生面壁10年钻研敦煌艺术的成就却也因此蜚声中外。他一次次在国际学术研讨会上报告他的研究心得，在学术期刊上发表他的专业论文，还出版了多种著作，都引起了国内外专家学者的瞩目与称赞。
In 1984, he went to study the mural paintings and sculptures preserved in the Tuanhuang Moga grotas at the invitation of the Tuanhuang Academy, China. The great Buddhist artist works spanned across 10 Chinese dynasties for more than 1,000 years. Although Professor Xie started his career as an oil painter, he found that great magic power and beauty of ancient Chinese arts in the Moga grotas. He has spent his best 20 years of detailed examination and study there on his own, regardless of loneliness and poverty. Over these years, he has delivered and published excellent research papers in various international conferences and academic periodicals. He has also published several books. All his publications have aroused the attention of the scholars and specialists in China and abroad with high recognition.
2002年，谢承水先生应英国伦敦大学的邀请，用了长达1年的时间，在大英博物馆专门研究流失在英国的出自敦煌莫高窟藏经洞的几百幅宋代以前的绢画，使他成为当今世界上屈指可数的既全面研究过敦煌壁画，又同时深入研究过敦煌绢画的权威专家。我们通过他为杭州西湖边永福寺塑造的高达9米的铜铸大佛，可以看出他对古代佛教艺术研究的深邃和他对艺术创造的自由把握。在这里，不仅使我们看到了唐代造像中传神的回归，而且还为我们展现了一种强烈的现代感。他没有选择常规的老成持重的佛像造型，而是选了一个充满青春活力的年轻人的形象作为雕塑佛像的基础，来反映我们今天欣欣向荣的时代特征。因为佛是永恒的，没有时间空间的拒碍，也就没有年龄的分别。更为奇特的是，这种佛像它用3个朝代不同塑造手法相结合的构思塑造而成。从上方往下看，是以北魏的造像风格塑造的，在佛像下方的侧面观看时，却是隋代秀美的造像风格，而从大殿正面观看，才是壮美圆满的唐朝造像风格。同样，他在塑造6米高的宝珠观音菩萨像时， 也采用隋代和唐代两种造型风格相结合的表现形式。
In 2002, Professor Xie received an invitation from London University to study the 100 pieces of silken cloths painting from the Moga grottos housed in the British Museum, which all were made before the Song dynasty. He is one of few leading experts in the field of research on the masterpieces and silken cloth paintings from Dunhuang. We can also see his creativity and deep understanding of the ancient Buddhist arts from his 9-meter high sculpture of Bodhisattva placed in the Yongfu Monastery, Hangzhou. From this sculpture, we can see his reverent spirit of the Buddhist sculpture of Tang dynasty with a strong sense of modernity. Instead of applying the conventional style of the mellow exterior of Bodhisattva, Xie chose a youthful and vigorous figure to create this image of Bodhisattva. The most amazing feature of this status, its combination of the styles of 3 dynasties. 1. When we see from top down, this image shows the style of North Wei dynasty. Second, when we look from the bottom and side, the image gives us graceful style of Sui dynasty. Third, when we look at the image from the front, we can see the magnificent style of Tang dynasty. Likewise, he also combined the style of Sui and Tang dynasty in 6-meter high state of Chindamani Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva.
为了增加两侧观者的视觉，他又采用了古代印度的照相的手法，大大增加了深度空间体量，使整体变得浑圆有力，犹如山峦起伏般大气。更为重要的是，在他的雕塑面前，同样可以看见古代佛像呈现的那种神秘的光彩，给人以神奇与震撼。这就是中国传统以传神为先的塑造手法。我可以大胆说，谢承水先生对佛像如此娴熟自如的塑造手法，以及他对艺术造型的极佳把握，在当今无人能及。难怪英国伦敦大学的东方艺术研究专家维托教授说，谢承水先生是当今中国佛教造像第一人。维托教授还赞叹说，他从前不相信会有中国古代书籍中记载的那种既能画好画，同时又能雕塑出杰出作品的艺术家。现在他终于看到了一个。我认为他说的一点也不夸张。的确，谢承水先生的绘画也同样绚烂卓绝。他从一个学油画的转为成为专门研究中国古代壁画的著名画家，近2年又开始创造雕塑，开辟了自己的一个崭新的艺术天地，在绘画艺术与雕塑艺术之间打通关爱，彼此借鉴，以至于融会贯通，游刃有余，实在令人称叹。在这里，我们也不难看出他具有鲜明个性的绘画作品所表现出的中华民族艺术审美的强烈个性，看出他追求在强烈色彩中达到的一种极高的和谐与宁静。他的绘画作品也无疑早就引起国内外收藏家的青睐。近来，他应邀参与了举世闻名的北京奥运会的鸟巢内雕刻屏风的设计。尽管如此，他却从来没有丝毫张扬，仍然以一种极为平常、极为宁静的心态回到他的艺术创作境界中去。正是他的这种佛般的宁静，才使他的艺术作品如此超凡脱俗，炉火纯青。
Furthermore, to increase the stereotypic vision from both sides of this statue, he makes the figure more rounded and powerful by adopting the ancient Indian sculpture making techniques and makes it as magnificent as a mountain. More importantly, we can see the same mystical spirit presented in the ancient images is revealed in this sculpture as well. This spirit is a priority in Chinese Buddhist art. I believe it is fair to say that Professor Xie's skillful sculpture making techniques are matchless today. No wonder that Professor Roderick Whitefield, the specialist on the Oriental arts from the London University, said that Professor Xie was the leading person in the creation of Chinese Buddhist sculpture and the only person he had met in his life with such great expertise in both painting and sculpture. I believe what he has said is completely true. Indeed, Professor Xie is brilliant and excellent in painting as well. He was first an oil painter and then became a painter and expert in Chinese ancient mural paintings. He started making sculpture in recent years. In his career, he has established a new art world. There he has broken the barrier between painting and sculpture, and by mastering both, he has created impressive masterpieces. We can easily see distinctive traditional Chinese aesthetics in his painting and the harmony and peace. There is no doubt that his paintings are popular among local and overseas collectors. He was invited to jointly design the carving screens of worldly well-known the Beijing Olympic Center bird's nest. But he did not make it publicized. He always keeps a calm and quiet mind in face of his great achievement. It is his Buddha-like peaceful mind that makes his art's works perfect and unique. Thank you.
最后，感谢我的同事吴成廷老师帮我做的翻译，也感谢沙丁德主任帮我做的现场翻译，谢谢。
谢谢。It's just thanks to me. So thank you very much. 谢谢，非常感谢。
Thank you, sir. We now proceed to session 1 of the conference. It's my pleasure to introduce our two speakers for the day. For the first session of the day, Professor Charles Willemen and Dr. Li-Ling. Professor Charles Willemen is Rector and Teaching Professor at the International Buddhist College, Thailand. He studied Latin and Greek for his master's degree in the classics, and later Chinese, Japanese, and Sanskrit for an MA in East Asian Studies. He obtained his PhD in the field of East Asian Studies from the University of Ghent, Belgium. He has taught at different universities in Belgium, China, Canada, Japan, and Thailand. Our next speaker for this session is Dr. Li-Ling, who is professor at Sichuan University, Hangzhou, China. She has done a PhD on the iconography of Tibetan Buddhism from the Department of Art History. From 2017, she has been a fellow of the Jawaharlal Nehru Institute of Advanced Study in India. And from 2002 to 2018, she has held the post of researcher professor at the National Museum of China. Professor Willemen, may I now request you to present your paper here.
Everybody, you're a fellow now. I thought you were a lady in the morning. This is well, good morning. I will try to explain a few things about the name of Avalokitesvara and where he or she comes from. Well, the oldest representations of Avalokitesvara are male and even military figures. In Bactria, in northern Afghanistan today, we have he probably kept the high ground there in the Hindu Kush and kept the caravans and the traders safe down there. That's why he's called Avalokita. And they, of course, admired his compassion. They needed his compassion. I don't know whether it was limited to compassion. But anyway, Avalokitesvara was a military figure keeping the peace there in the northwest. The northwestern area of India is, well, it's the Gandharan area. And Gandhara proper is Udyana to the north, that's Suvas to the Swat area, and then Gandhara proper, today Pakistan. That was mainly Mahasangika area. And then to the west of there was Bactria across the Khyber Pass. So there was Nagarahara, Jalalabad today. That's in Bactria. The Chinese call Bactria Ta Xia, because the Chinese have the habit of thinking that when a Chinese dynasty falls in China, it moves west. So the Xia is the old royal Xia dynasty that moved west to Bactria. And Bactria is the westernmost part of Xiyu, the western regions. So you should be careful when you say a Westerner, because that is very relative, you know, because an Afghani would be a Westerner seen from China, and a Pakistani would be a Westerner seen from China. So the Chinese also know this whole northwestern area as Jibin. Jibin, Polyblank in Cambridge a long time ago thought this was a Chinese phonetic rendering for Kashmir. But then there were some doubts, and in Japan, Enomoto advanced a new city, Kapisha, that would fit better phonetically with Jibin. But then one started realizing that the original Indian language was not Sanskrit, actually, but Gandhari Prakrit in that area. So one started looking for a Gandhari term, and then Karashima came up with the Gandhari pronunciation, which more or less would fit phonetically with Jibin. But actually, it is not a phonetic rendering of any Indian word. Ji actually means kambal. Kambala is a warm cloth. And Bin is a foreign guest, as I am today. So Jibin is a name, Kambala foreign. They come from the area of northern Pakistan, of Udyana, of the Swat area. And then they cross the mountains. So they are, the warm cloth, the Kambala, is very much appreciated traditionally there. And this Jibin, this name, Kambala foreigners, became a place name. And it's much older than the presence of Sanskrit and even of Buddhism in India, because it is mentioned for the first time in the Qian Han Shu. So that is 2 centuries BC. There was no talk of Buddhism yet in China in those days, but Jibin already existed in those days. So how could it be translated from any Indian language? It was really a Chinese name for those foreigners coming from Udyana, and that became a place name. Originally Udyana, and eventually the whole of the Northwest. And in around 200 AD, Kashmir was included too. That's when Kanishka decided to have a new cultural center for his empire, and he put it to the east of the traditional Northwest, namely in Kashmir. And there was and that would be the new center in Sanskrit, by the way, even though the basic Indian language for Buddhism before 400 AD was Prakrit, mainly Gandhari Prakrit, as we can see it in East Asia. Buddhism, the language of Buddhism in this country, in India, has been Sanskrit ever since about 400 AD. We can see this in the terminology of the Chinese translations, clearly. Kumarajiva brought Sanskrit, is a Sanskrit-based Buddhism. Also Xuanzang, of course. But before those people, it was Prakrit-based, mainly Gandhari. Now, Avalokitesvara, as the name, it was translated, the oldest translations we have is by An Xuan and Yan Fo Tiao. An Xuan was a Persian. An means, is it an ethnicon to indicate Persians? the most famous first translator was An Shigao. An Shigao is a phonetic rendering. The whole word is a phonetic rendering of Ashkani, which means Persian. So An Shigao is just Ashkani, that just means Persian. When he arrived there in China, people were saying, where do you come from, who are you, and things like that, the normal questions, and then he was saying Ashkani, and that was An Shigao to the Chinese, and that was his name. And the first part, even phonetic renderings in Chinese are seen as composed by a surname, family name, and a given name. So when you pinyin, when you transcribe it, you should do it in 2 words. Actually, An, 1 word, Shigao, the 2nd word, Kumara, 1 word, Kuma in 1 word, Rajiv in the other way, so it would be called Rajiv in India. So this, even phonetic renderings have a surname and a given name, which is important for the transcriptions of the name, of course. Well, the first, An Xuan, a Persian, and Yen Fotiao, a Chinese Shramana. Fotiao means Buddhadatta, if you translate it to Sanskrit. They translated the name of Avalokitesvara as Kwe Yin. Kwe Yin means observed sounds. So it's not Ishvara, but Svara. Avalokitesvara, or rather, a Prakrit form of that word, was the most ancient name of Avalokitesvara. He translated this Avalokitesvara, the Prakrit form, Avalokitesvara. The Svara indicates the sounds of the living beings, the suffering living beings. He listens to them, he looks to them. And this ancient translation was also kept by Zhixian in the 3rd century in South China. Zhixian was educated in Luoyang, just where An Xuan and Yen Fotiao had been working, and he took over the terminology. He also says Guiyin, and it means observed sounds. The basic language was still Gandhari Prakrit, even though Zhixian also used other Prakrit texts, Dhammapada. Well, I'm not going into that subject because Zhixian, there is so much to say about him and his basic Indian texts which he uses. But he also borrows the terminology of An Xuan. Then the next figure is Ju Fa Hu. Fa Hu is Dharmaraksha in Sanskrit. And he was the first translator of the Sadharma Pundarik Sutra, translate Zheng Fa Hua Jing. And Zheng Fa Hua Jing, there, of course, this is a text where Avalokitesvara is very important. The text, this Sadharma Pundarikas probably originates in the Bactrian area, the area of Avalokitesvara. And it probably in Sarvastivara circles, because the Bactrian part was very much traditional Sangha, Staviravara, one might say, while Gandhara was Mahasangha, Mahasangika. That was the difference between the two. They were always reacting to each other's developments and ideas. Well, the Lotus Sutra started in the western part of the Gandharan area, and then was taken over by Mahasangikas, result, Ekayana. So the Mahasangikas called their own Buddhism Mahayana. They were the Mahasangha, the majority, when the first Sangha Veda took place in about 340 BC during Mahapadmananda. That's when the first split between the Sangha and the Mahasangha being the majority. The official reason was the Vinaya, but of course, being in India, the Vinaya was the Vinaya dispute was the result of other disputes, of doctrinal disputes. And the Staviras, the leaders of the Sangha, seeing all those disputes, were afraid that something might happen to their Sangha. They wanted to be a bit more strict, add a few more rules to the Vinaya, and the majority, the Mahasangha, said no, did not want that. And in that case, you have a Sangha Bheda in India. Only the Vinaya can cause that, a split in India, not in other countries. So this first Sangha Bheda happened in about 340 BC, and then each started developing their own, each family started developing, and the traditional Sangha, which did not have a name for itself in those days, developed up to the time of Ashoka, let's say about 240 BC. And in Ashoka's days, you had more developments, and the traditional Sangha again split up. They had the traditional Sangha members and their extremists, let's call them, the Sarvastivadins. And also the Mahasangha had developments. They also had their extremists called Prajñaptivada people. And the traditional ones, the traditional Sangha and the traditional Mahasangha, for the first time had a special name for themselves. The traditional Sangha called itself Vibhajyavada in the time of Ashoka, and the Mahasangha called itself Bahushrutiya, very intellectual terms. Bahushruta is a very learned person. Vibhajyavada is someone who analyzes, distinguishes before he believes. So intellectual words were used. Avalokitesvara is a figure of the Sarvastivada group. When I say Sarvastivada, one should be careful not to mix two Sarvastivada groups, not the new Vaibhashika orthodoxy in Kashmir, which used Sanskrit and which had a Buddha Bhashita Abhidharma. By the way, if you have a Buddha Bhashita Abhidharma, you are establishing your orthodoxy, your truth. The Buddha said it, so who can argue with that? You see, so it happened twice in the history of Buddhism. It happened in around 200 AD in Kashmir, and it happened around 20 BC in Anuradhapura. There, and the Buddha did not say the same thing, apparently, and in a different language. So this is they established an orthodoxy, and they were out of this action and reaction process, which was taking place in the Sangha, mainly in the Northwest. And this, so the Sarvastivadins, there are traditional Sarvastivadins. In Ashoka's days, there was no Vaibhashika Abhidharma yet. We have to wait a couple of more, actually 400 years before that happens. So there are traditional Sarvastivadins, the majority, actually. And in Kashmir, they were establishing a truth, and they're called Vaibhashikas because of the Mahavibhasha, which is a commentary on their Jnana Prasthana, which was a new name for the Ashtagrantha, which was a traditional Sarvastivada text. So all this is, well, we know all that right now, and I've said it more than once and written it more than once, actually. So this is well known. Sarvastivada people have two groups, the traditional ones and the new Vaibhashikas in Kashmir. And scholars seem to focus on this orthodoxy, this Sanskrit orthodoxy, but the majority was not the Sanskrit orthodoxy, was not Vaibhashika. The majority were traditional Sarvastivadins, originally using Prakrit, Gandhari Prakrit in the Northwest, and also around 400 AD, everybody turned to Sanskrit, so it was Sanskrit from those days. Avalokitesvara, the name, I wandered a bit away from Dharmaraksha and the Sadharma Pundarika Sutra. He translated Guang Shi Yin. Guang means Guangming, light. So it are the voices of the world of light. That's what he translates based on Prakrit. Now there is a very interesting article by Karashima Seishi. He wrote that in 2009 in Chinese, and the title is the 中华经法华经的文献学 研究, a study about the Lotus Sutra. It is called 观音的语义解释, about the meaning of the word 观音. It was published in 中华文史论丛 2009 in Chinese. And I used that article last year, actually, and I'm happy to see my old friend Professor Deokar is here. And in the Annals of the Bandarkar Oriental Institute, of the Oriental Research Institute, in the centenary volume, there is an article in there. I wrote it, the title is Xuanzang, about Avalokitesvara, Jibin, and Madhyantika. So based on those two articles, I'm just now talking about the general contents of that. And Karashima advances the idea that Dharmaraksha might have, that was still a Prakrit time, that he might have read Abha instead of Ava for Avalokitesvara. So that would explain the Guang, the light. Now, if that is, and I quite believe that. Actually, I'm even going more further than that. You know, when you know that Amitabha became Amitayus, I even think that the Abha, as seen in the Prakrit word for Avalokitesvara, might have been at the basis for the name of Amitabha, even in the same Bhaktriyan Sarvastivara context. And he became Amitayus, by the way, the immeasurable life. That happened in South China. It started in the 5th century. And also Avalokitesvara becomes female in China. It begins in the 5th century. Little by little, he becomes less male fanatic and becomes more and more female. Until he becomes completely female in the 7th century during Xuanzang's days. But in India, this never happened. It is a purely Chinese development. So Avalokitesvara's femaleness is a Chinese unique characteristic. The change from Amitabha to Amitayus is two, but a road leads in two directions always. So a Chinese development can find its way back to India. So what if in China Amitabha becomes Amitayus, this can find its way back here to India. And Amitayus can also start in India. Why did this happen? Why Amitabha Amitayus? Why a female Avalokitesvara? It started in the 5th century in South China. I think the local cultural context is responsible for that, namely Taoism. There is Xi Wangmu, the royal mother of the West, who is a goddess of immortality, a very important Taoist goddess. And she could be responsible for the becoming female of Avalokitesvara. She could also be, well, not the, but certainly a factor which contributed to the Amitabha Amitayus change in South China. So this suggestion by Karashima about Abha opened up a whole new horizon to me, especially in the 5th century. And Avalokitesvara became female. There is nothing I could find in the name of Avalokitesvara in India, in the name of even in the translations. Kumarajiva says Guan Shi Yin, which means the sounds of the observed world. This is he did not completely change Dharmaraksha's term. He was a diplomat in spite of everything. And so he still did not want to radically break with the old terminology. So he kept part of it, part of the mistake, but partly corrected it to Guan Shi instead of Guang Shi Yin. So that's what he said. And then his disciple, Zhu Daosheng, that's also early 5th century, by the way. Kumarajiva arrived in Chang'an in 402, and his disciples were the first half of the 5th century there. Zhu Daosheng for the first time uses the word Guanyin for the first time. So this is important because every time I'm in China and the word Avalokitesvara is mentioned, Guan Shiyin, they all said, we say Guanyin, and this sure was dropped because it appears also in the name of Li Shimin, the Tang emperor, and there is a taboo on the use of this shi, and then it's not Guan Shiyin anymore, but Guanyin. Everybody seems to think so, but actually Zhu Daosheng already said Guanyin in the 5th century, which is long before Li Shimin. He was not even born yet. So it is not a taboo result. It is just the fact that Daosheng left out the shi and came up with Guanyin. Why did he do that? Maybe he was turning female, Guanyin, and Guanyin is possible for a female name. Guan Shiyin also, but less. Guanyin looks like a monastic name. A monk or a nun could be called Guanyin. It's possible. It sounds like a monastic name. So there was more than one reason. There usually is more than one reason for a change. So there was Guanyin is used in the 5th century. So it is not a taboo because the shi appears in Li Shimin's name. So that's also a fact. During Xuanzang, of course, Xuanzang, there are aspects to the nature of Xuanzang which I don't like. He always corrects everybody. He has this incorrigible inclination to correct. He corrects Paramartha's translations and makes them again. He always corrects. If you read Xi Yuji, he always this and this and this, he says so and so, wrong. It's always like that. He's always like that. He knows Sanskrit extremely well. He actually probably translated the Chinese Xinjing to Hridaya Sutra. The Sanskrit is his work, translated from Chinese to Sanskrit. It's not the other way. We know now, Jan Natir has shown this convincingly in an article. So Xuanzang and the Sanskrit, of course, he corrects you Avalokitesvara. He for the first time uses Ishvara. And Avalokitesvara is Guan Zizai. But for a lady, that's a very strange name. Zizai, a lady being called Ishvara, it's very strange. So the Guan Zizai for Avalokitesvara, a female one, well, that's the correction of Xuanzang, because it was Ishvara, even though the names Guan Shiyin and Guanyin were also used at the same time. The correction by Xuanzang did not win over the ancient Kumarajiva and Zhu Daosheng terms. They were still used. So even when in China she was completely female, in India stayed completely male, and Avalokitesvara would be a good male name, but a bad female name. So for China, Guanyin is better, and for India, Avalokitesvara is better. Now the becoming female of Avalokitesvara is documented in a book by the art historians Cao Houde and Yang Gucheng. The title is 中国佛教像艺术. And I have consulted an example of 1993, and they document the becoming female of Avalokitesvara. But in the name itself, except maybe Guanyin, I do not find any real proof of the becoming female of Avalokitesvara. There are many more things to say, because if you come up with one new idea, this opens a horizon of many more things. It is just a matter of asking the right questions. And of course one should know what has been transmitted, the knowledge of course one should, but it doesn't stop there. If one knows the transmitted knowledge and one asks the right questions, one comes up with Amitabha, Amitayus, one comes up with a female Avalokitesvara. At the same time in South China, probably the Taoist area. And so I could say much more about Mahayana, Hinayana, about Abhirati and Sukhavati. Sukhavati, by the way, the Pure Land is Shubhavati, not Sukhavati. It is it goes back to Prakrit days. In Sanskrit it would be Sukha, but the Chinese says Shubha, pleasant. So there are so many more things, and you have Abhirati, and you have Sukhavati, you have Avalokitesvara, you have Amita. So one could say so many more things, but this would, thank you for your patience so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Willemen, for your very illuminating lecture on Avalokitesvara's name. I call upon our next speaker, Professor Li-Ling, to speak on the protecting deity of the land of snow, the origin of the 11-faced Avalokitesvara.
Thank you for the Somaiya Buddhist Center and Hangzhou Buddhist Center invited me come here. I'm so happy give the lecture in English. This is my first time give the lecture in English, so maybe can limit it. So maybe can limit my express. So I hope I can see clearly. Just now, Professor Willemen talking about the Avalokitesvara caught in Chinese place. My topic is about Tibetan called Avalokitesvara. So the scholar research about Buddhism art know the cult of Avalokitesvara is very popular in China, includes Tibetan place and the Chinese place. So my topic is talking about the 11-faced Avalokitesvara. I want to show this image orange, the orange place. My topic presentation explore the origin and the form of 11-faced Avalokitesvara and examine the basic pattern of evolution of religion belief. My topic concluded that 11-faced Avalokitesvara very widespread in Tibet as known as the protecting deities of the land of snow. It originated in the court of Shiva, which became popular began from 7th century and correspond to the 11-faced form of Rudra Shiva. We can see these two images. That one is the King Songdan of Tibet, and here is usually called Avalokitesvara. The simplest is small, the image called Amita. Because from the historic Tibetan work, record that the King Songdan want to find a better way to rule the snowland, so he looked for idiom or his personal guide deities everywhere until he found area Avalokitesvara in south of India. Actually, it's Sri Lanka. This Bodhisattva is known as 11-faced Avalokitesvara. So the scholar of Buddhism art history have the knowledge. The image like that is King Songdan because at the top of his head have the small image Amitabha. My presentation close 6 parts, but maybe I have not so long time to express every part. So the important is what is Bodhisattva, and the spread of the code of Shiva, and the last one is the Kahili 41, because there is the only one image of 11th Avalokitesvara in Buddhist cave. I will show some image of Tibetan style of 11th Avalokitesvara. We can see this image belongs to the 9th or 10th century, come from Kashmir. His 11th ordered like this, 3, 3, 3, 1, 1, and together is 11th. And this one is come from northeast of India, belong to the 12th century. And this one I saw this art piece called Tata. The Tucci, the Italy scholar, since this word Tata come from Indian, maybe come from a folk. This folk, the pattern is 11th Avalokitesvara, come from Western Tibet, Ngari. Because this was made by mud, so it's easy to broken. Now we only find not so much. And this picture I show everyone to want to say. This is a famous place in Lhasa of Tibet. This is the Dharma Raja cave in Butala. And in this cave, collection some statue. Here is the King Sundan Gambu. We can show his head. The top of head have a small image, Amitabha, and beside his princess, his son, and that one is the master guru come from India, by Masabhawa, is a famous guru. And this one is the minister of King Sundan Gambu. He created the Tibetan character, come from a copy of Indian characters. And we can notice the behind the King Sundan Gambu have a statue, is 11 faces and 1,000 armies. Tibetan people believe this statue is very old, but it easily to see is late time, made by late time. And we also show everyone this image. This statue also keep in Butala. This sandalwood, I want to show the middle one. Sandalwood statue is Avalokitesvara. We heard it was brought into Tibet from Sri Lanka at 7th century. So maybe this one was found by King Sundan Gambu at 7th century. So, but we can see this Bodhisattva only one face, not 11 faces. So it is strange. It's different from the historic work, Tibetan historic work record. And we will talking about the important words Bodhisattva. What is Bodhisattva? And the Bodhisattva combine two words, Buddhi and Sattva. So Bodhisattva means a nice person, a good person. But if the Buddhi is the verb, how to understand this word? We can see the statue come from Gandhala. This is the Bodhisattva. This image is Bodhisattva. And he wear this. I think the scholar, Indian scholar, maybe now, he wear on his body. This called tabis in Hindi. English means amulet. I found in India, most young men or students often wear like this to keep the person of the danger or some demon maybe. The old person or adult also wear, but I found it's not much, very few. Second thing I want to say, the Bodhisattva look like the layman, not monk, and he is also the young man. We can see this amulet or tabis clear. It's a small box. We can open it and put the mantra inside. The mantra is some things can keep the danger off. And wear the line on the body. So I see the young men wear this tabis at the south of India because there the people have not clothes on the body, so we can see. But even if I stay at the Delhi, because there is not so hot, so I cannot see this. And the Bodhisattva often have the beautiful hair and the beautiful fire. So I will to say the Bodhisattva. The first is youth, and the second is layman, and the third is a non-lighted person. The Bodhisattva is the young man who looking for lighted. And he is also the Brahma, often belong to Brahma, from the Chinese Buddhist Sutra. You call that. And the first mentioned the name of Avalokitesvara from the Amita Sutra. Just now, Professor Willemen mentioned that. The important Amita Sutra is enclosed three copies. This sutra completed about 1st or 2nd century at Central Asia, not the middle of India or other Indian place. And the first monk chant the Avalokitesvara's name to keep the danger is the Fa Xian. He belonged to the 5th century. When he from India back to China, his ship meet the dangers at the sea. So Fa Xian chant the name of Avalokitesvara. And finally, the ship becomes safe. So he landed to China at the Qingzhou of Shandong province at 5th century. So from that time, Fa Xian takes some Indian sutra and the image to China. We can find that time in China how this beautiful style, Buddhist statue style. So the Chinese scholar believe this style brought by Fa Xian from India. And the time of India is a Gupta style, a good Gupta time. So we can see the nearly Qingzhou style is similar to the Gupta style. This is also the Qingzhou style. And from that time, by Fa Xian, the image of Avalokitesvara is very, very popular in China. So we can see here is a beautiful Bodhisattva, just Bodhisattva. Here is Bodhisattva. And we can see this detail on the top of the Bodhisattva have a cicada. This cicada not come from India. This from Chinese, traditional Chinese. What meaning? The cicada meaning in Chinese tradition is immortal, no died. So that time people think the Bodhisattva is immortal, never died. Even if so many Bodhisattva image was made that time, but no one was saying is Avalokitesvara, just the Bodhisattva. Why? It's strange. Almost the same time, this statue found at another place in China is not too far from Hangzhou. This Bodhisattva called Avalokitesvara. We can see here is many Chinese character, and here's the Guan Shi, Chinese Avalokitesvara's name. So it is very strange. The image from the Hangzhou brought by Fa Xian, no one says Avalokitesvara. But another place is very, very popular. The cult of Avalokitesvara is very, very popular in another place. Almost the same time. We can see the Hangzhou style is so similar to the Gupta style. He is a Bodhisattva in China, and that is Vishnu, belong to the Gupta time. And here is a Bodhisattva. We can notice on the top have the moon, and here is a very popular Shiva. His sign, the important sign is the moon. The Chinese Avalokitesvara Sutra is 4 copies. Chinese Sutra, not Tibetan. This copy is first translated first. First one is 6th century, the end of 6th century. Then Xuanzang and Moga, Vajra and Articular all translate. So in China now keep 4 copies, 11th Avalokitesvara Sutra. And we can see this. I show this picture is a Chinese 11th Avalokitesvara style. His 11th not look like a pagoda. It look like a flower like this. So I think they come from the different way, different road. Maybe the Tibetan, the pagoda style come from Kashmir, and here maybe come from the south of India. This is my view. And this also the Chinese style. This one keep in National Museum of China. Come from Dunhuang, is 10th century, and this belong to the Longmen cave, but now keep in America. It's also made. This one is 8th century. That one is 10th century. And this style is Japanese style. Follow Chinese style. His 11th look like the flower, not pagoda style. And I want to let everyone to know, to notice Xuanzang. He is a very strange and also is a very great monk. But I want to know why he translated the Avalokitesvara Sutra, and I want to know what he learned in English, in Indian. This image was found in Japan at 12th century. It's very, very popular. People think this image is Xuanzang, a great monk Xuanzang. We can see he have a big earring and a school mala. School mala, we know this ornament belong to the Brahma. Hinduism, not Buddhism, these ornaments. But why Xuanzang look like this? And another thing I will mention is the Xuanzang was win at the Universe Assembly. We know Xuanzang become the winner at that assembly. Then he get the opportunity to establish the 2 stadium. So he established what stadium? One is Shiva, another is Shiva's wife. Just now I introduced the Chinese 11th Avalokitesvara Sutla, or scholar, or some translation monk. Then I will introduce Tibetan Sutla. Now in Tibetan Tripitaka, only 2 copies. One is come from Chinese, another come from Sanskrit. This Sutla translate about 8th or 9th century, late than Chinese. So next one, I will talking about Shiva and Avalokitesvara. This is my my point. We know the Locator when set this school in reached to China at about 7th century, introduced by Xuanzang. In that set, the god maybe is Loca-Marcel. Translate to Chinese is Shi Jianzun, same to Guanyin, same to Avalokitesvara. And another point I will talking about Rudra, Vida, and Shiva. First, I show the Avalokitesvara's image. The important sign is the small Amitabha image. But I want to know this Amita actually is autumn or Atman. They are all different name or different meaning. And this image, I take the picture from the Orissa Museum. People believe this image from the Buddhist side, called this Avalokitesvara. From the Hinduism side, called this is Shiva. Because they have the same sign. First, rosary. Rosary is very, very popular in Buddhism. And the second, the lotus, and the Amita. Amita in Hinduism is Atman. In Buddhism is Amita. And the 3 L's and the 4 arms as a silver and female. So this, so many signs, so many characters is same between the Shiva and Avalokitesvara. So this image is Shiva or Guanyin or Avalokitesvara. Then we will show the Tibetan, the cult of Avalokitesvara. Here is come from the temple of Tibet. We can see so many images, similar to this image from the Nepal. That one called Arya Avalokitesvara. That style is very, very popular in Tibet. Arya Available-Wahala. We can say the detail. The same style. They also called Buddha Arya Avalokitesvara. And I will mention another things. At the same time, in Chinese place, suddenly widespread Avalokitesvara style. This style called Word Hmong Avalokitesvara. This style Avalokitesvara created by a painter. He is a court painter. His name is Zhou Fang. At the historic work record, he is Miao Chuang this Avalokitesvara. What's meaning Miao Chuang? We can translate mysterious creation. We don't know how to creation this style. Just a mysteric creation. So it's very, very strange. This is Zhou Fang's painting style. Because he is a court painter, he often joined the court lady. It's very beautiful and very, very, I don't know. Because he's very old painter, Tang Dynasty at the 8th century. But so no picture can confirm belong to Zhou Fang, just elegantly. This picture is a long scroll, and many court ladies. And we also cannot see one piece of Water Hmong Avalokitesvara painted by Zhou Fang. Just from the other place, keep the same time the Avalokitesvara to see maybe Zhou Fang's style. This one keep in Forbidden City of Beijing and belong to 10th century. We just to say what Hmong Avalokitesvara style, and we can see his posture. His posture like this, his leg like this. Maybe Indian scholars don't know. In China, the tradition seat posture not like this. Must like this, and so this one is polite, and I don't know how to say. This is very, very barbarous. If young man sit like this, maybe the old person will beat the young person. Usually sit like this. The Chinese sit like this, but the Water Hmong Avalokitesvara like this. So it is not Chinese tradition. Why it is suddenly widespread in China? They also found the very, very popular, very painter from that time, 10th century. They found at Kola-Hot, 10th century. Is also Water Hmong Avalokitesvara. And here is Li-Ling Hill, western north of China. It looks like this, very, very relaxed. And this one keep in National Museum of China. I'm very, very familiar with this one, the 10th century. And he also sits on a stone. This stone belongs to the Buddha. His place, the Avalokitesvara's place. And this one also keep in National Museum of China is a masterpiece, belong to the 11th century. And because this Water Hmong Avalokitesvara is so popular, so from 10th century and till to now, it is very, very popular. We can see everywhere in China. This one made at maybe 17th or 18th century. And because this style is so popular, so he make many different groups. This one is very, very popular. Avalokitesvara and Sudana and Dragon Daughter. This group is very popular in China at the late of China, late history. Tradition Chinese, the sit posture like this, not relaxed. So, such relaxed and carefree posture were real in Buddhist, Buddhist sculpture art, also in the daily life. So, where did this form of Bodhisattva come from? Shiva. I think come from Shiva. Shiva is also called 大自在, means Mahashivala. Just now, Professor Willemen expressed this Ishvara. Ishvara means 大自在, 自在. In China, the Guanyin also called 自在 Shivala, Mahashivala. And this image come from elephant. I cannot remember clear. And this one is 17th or 18th centuries Chinese Guanyin. We can see his the posture is same. Then the last question talking about 11-faced Avalokitesvara in Tibet. Shiva, also called the Lord of Snow Mountain, and King Songzhan Gambo want to looking for the protecting deities to protect the snowland. We know the Tibetan belong to the snowland. And the Shiva, why called Rudra? Indian scholar know this. I cannot explain clearly because maybe I have no time. We just mentioned the Rudra equal 11. Rudra equal 11. In Veda system, Shiva also called Rudra Shiva. And Rudra have 11 energies. So sometimes Rudra means 11. And we will mention the important image from the Kahili 41 caves. This image is so important, but I think it is very strange because in the Buddhist context, we only find only one image. I can analyze some things about this one. We can see this is the group, the image group. This is Bodhisattva, and usually beside is another Bodhisattva. They are the semantics, but now they are not. They are as asymmetrics, and the style. This belong to the Gupta style, look like this, but 11-faced Avalokitesvara look like this. So they are not belong to the same place. And we can see the top, the 11-faced Avalokitesvara, the top broken the up image. So, from this, my point, I think 11-faced Avalokitesvara, this one, was made by later, or some artisan made later time. And if that one I cannot confirm the image belong to the Hinduism or Buddhism, but this one I confirm. This one belongs to the Hinduism. Why? Because we will show people this image. This image is very, very small, but it's very important. This person belongs to the Pashupata set of Shivaism. He is the founder of the Pashupata set. This person. His name is Lakulisha. Because he has a big, I don't know, is a hat or a hair. I don't know. Hair, yeah? Yeah, so he has the big hair, and his big hair. This Lakulisha's image is very popular from 7th century, I think, because I see many his image at the south of India. Many Shivaism temple and Hinduism temple, we can see this person's image or this the monk of this set image because they have the big hair. So from this image, I can confirm this image belongs to the Hinduism. His name is Rudra, not Avalokitesvara.
Where from is that image?
What?
Where from is this image?
I don't know. I just get this image from the magazine, but the name is Hindi. I cannot know. I asked a scholar of Jainu, but the scholar don't know. He said maybe come from the Madhya Pradesh, or 7th century, he said. We can see his detail. Because he is founder of Shivaism set, so his image is similar to Shiva. He have the third S, and he have 4 arms, and also have the linga. And this is another small temple. I take picture from south of India. We can see this also the monk of this side. Have big hair. So the image of Avalokitesvara is rescued from 8 difficulties. First appears in India around the 6th century. The description of Avalokitesvara as the bringing protection and civilization is the basic characters of image of this Avalokitesvara. And it probably reflects that the tradition of Shiva that come from India. In the north, it appears as the protecting deity of land of snow, while in the south, its function was to help those who are affected by blood and stone. So in the 5th century, Chinese monk Fa Xian recited the name of Avalokitesvara during sea storm. This was worship that was widespread in south of India. So different places have different the Avalokitesvara style. We can see here's the map of Chinese, not the Indian. In the middle is Himalaya, and the 2 sides. This side is Tibetan of China, and this side is Indian, and that the white place is Kashmir. In that time, the Kashmir is the important place of cult of Avalokitesvara, Shiva. So, maybe at the 7th century, the they are become to many different sects of Shivaism. The Kashmir sect is very popular, called Sutra sect. Sutra sect. When Xuan Zang come visit there, he meet many monks belong to the Shivaism. So exploring this issue from the cross-cultural perspective confirmed that the worship of the protecting of the land of snow, the 11th feast Avalokitesvara contribute to the spread of the cult of 11 Rudra Shiva in Himalaya cultural sphere, because it is a same culture. So it is too long, I didn't read. We will show some picture take from Tibet from 7th century to now. They are very popular, the cult of Avalokitesvara, or we also call Shiva, different style. Some image is 11 fist, some image is 4 arms. We can see this is a mountain image, a small mountain. All the mountain covered the image. We can see this is 11 fist and his forearms and 4 arms, 11 fist. So many, very popular, different style. And there is a detail. This is the Ming Dynasty, maybe 16th century, and this one is later than this, belong to 19th century. It's just the people, not the monk, just the people to cave or painting this image. We can see this is a famous mountain in Tibet, at Lhasa. This mountain named Yao Wang Mountain. Means medicine, the king of medicine. All the mountain cover the image. Many images belong to the Avalokitesvara. In fact, 11 fist Guanyin or Avalokitesvara is not only the protector of Tibet. In Chinese also developed a lot of birthplace of Guanyin, which have many 11 fist Guanyin of Chinese legend. In this legend, the famous story is of the Miao Shan princess. It's very popular. From this story, the Guanyin become to female because he is a princess. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
May I now invite the chairperson, Dr A P Jamkhedkar, to give his remarks.
Professor Charles Willemen, a great scholar in Buddhism, and Professor Li-Ling. And of course, Professor who gave the keynote address. I deem it a great honor to have been asked to chair this particular session in 2 ways. Well, I am a student of, you can say, Buddhism, more from the point of view of trying to understand the art historical way Buddhism is presented in India. And the other is that being a student of, you can say, Hindu religion. It was very interesting to know the various types of reflections which came from a professor who gave the keynote address and presenting himself in a particular way that, well, Avalokitesvara, as understood in Chinese tradition, has gone so many transformations. All the three scholars, they gave their own understanding as to why and how Avalokitesvara is represented as a female in the Chinese. What are the reasons for that? Everybody has his own way of understanding and telling it. Professor Charles Willemen gave a very wonderful historical survey about not only Sarvastivada, which probably, according to him, is the sect which was responsible for the cult of both Amitabha as also Avalokitesvara. And he talked from the point of view of linguistics, the origin of the name of Avalokitesvara and how it is connected with the region of Uddiyana, where the Gandhari dialect was spoken. Professor Li-Ling gave an altogether different account how the cult of Avalokitesvara started as simply that of the Bodhisattva, and slowly, probably because of the association of the cult of Rudra in Tibetan area, Shiva was sort of an inspiration for the 11-headed Avalokitesvara. And both these scholars, in their own way, have given a lot of food for our thought to understand the origin of the concept of Avalokitesvara as a god, then the representation of Avalokitesvara in particular ways, especially the oldest image being from Kanheri in cave number 41, how it must have originated and spread through Tibet to China. I think the whole seminar itself is on the theme of Avalokitesvara, and I think the keynote address, as also those two key speakers, I would say, they have given us a new way of looking at the concept of Avalokitesvara as a godhood, its iconography, and the development of the spatial form of 11-headed Avalokitesvara. And I wish that I won't be able to attend the other sessions. In fact, I would have very much liked to do so, but because of some administrative commitments in Delhi, I have to leave today for Delhi. And I wish that the papers which will be coming, I have got the handbook, and from that I see that there will be very interesting papers which will be coming in these 2 days, and the aspirations of the organizers to have this wonderful seminar on Avalokitesvara will be fulfilled by the scholars who present their papers in the coming 2 days. Thank you very much.
We'll now have a brief question and answer session. There's a mic here. If anyone has questions for the 2 scholars present here today, please raise your hand.
Professor Willemen, I have a question about you say that the Guan Shi Yin, the Shi dropped in before Li Shiming term, and you give an example that the 中国佛教 像艺术的 book that there are a female image about the Guan Yin. But I want to know why in 5th century that people want to distinguish the male and the female image. And could you give me some the text record?
I'll try to speak very loudly. I may even shout. Well, the becoming female of Avalokitesvara in the 5th century, as documented by documents, typical. This is a fact. Blame is not the right word. I think the Taoist cultural atmosphere in South China, because the 5th century is Nanbei Chao, and it developed in Nanchao, in the south, first. Little by little, it is not that he became female all of a sudden in 10 years. It took years and years and years for Avalokitesvara to develop into a complete female figure. But it started there. And I even make a connection with Amitabha and Amitayus, the name change, which also started in the same area at the same time, 5th century. And Amitabha is linked with Avalokitesvara, yes? I think the trinity of the Pure Land starts with Avalokitesvara, and from Avalokitesvara there is this Tathagata called Amitabha, because of the originally Prakrit Abha of Avalokitesvara. And then you need a third figure to complete the triad, and then I established a quality as a separate bodhisattva to complete the three. By the way, I could say something similar about the Eastern paradise, about Abhid Manjushri and Kshobhya. That's because they are linked. One reacts to the other. So it is the Taoist cultural atmosphere, which was very popular in the South. And I mentioned Xi Wang Mu just as an example of this important Taoist cultural influence. She is a lady, typical for Xis, and then she is a goddess of immortality, long life, immortality. So that would explain the Amitabha Amitayus. And by the way, Amitabha, if you pronounce it, you do not hear the first ah. Yes, you say Amitabha. Yes. So the Chinese, why is this ah there in the Chinese rendering Amitho? Because you don't hear it. Mitho is okay phonetically, but Amitho is a bit strange. So this ah probably has another origin, a local Chinese origin. We should think about the Chinese cultural context more, instead of focusing only on the Indian origin. Because in China there are Chinese cultural influences in the names of people, in the development of people, how they translate it, and this gives rise to different interpretations. So Amitabha Amitayus, and as I said, this Amitayus comes back to India because the road leads in two directions. So this Taoist influence starting in China finds its way back. The ancient Amitho Jing and Wuliang Shou Jing, Amitho Jing, that is Kumarajiva, that's early, 402. Actually, when Kumarajiva first arrived in China, the Chinese were not interested in emptiness, in prajnaparamita, not at all. They wanted to hear more meditation manuals and how to meditate and how to become arhat. So that's why he immediately started explaining the Zuochan Samejing immediately in the first year when he was there, he immediately translated Amitojeng, which gives a hint what kind of Buddhist literature this belongs to. And only after that, he started explaining what he wanted to explain. This is Darjadulun. And by the way, even the title of this Mahaprajna Paramyopadesha, as it's not, Kumarajiva uses Parami, not Paramita, and the Lun is Upadesha, not Shastra. So this Mahaprajna Paramyopadesha, why is it translated in Chinese as Zhilu? Because Zhi is a Staviravada knowledge, and Du is also a Staviravada term. It's not Polomi. You see, so the Chinese title is even a Staviravada inspired terminology, because the Chinese didn't want to hear about this new Mahasangika emptiness prajna paramita thing. They wanted more of the same. So the first year he does that. So we should, so the actions of Kumarajiva also can be explained by the local cultural environment and what they asked the newcomers. We should pay more attention to that, and that explains the becoming female of Avalokitesvara, that explains the name change from Amitabha to Amitayus, and I think it's the Chinese cultural environment.
Any more questions?
My question is to Professor Willemen. I mean, thanks for bringing back the memories of your stay in Pune. My question is about this change. You said Ava to Abha and connecting it with light. But what about the rest? I mean, because the Lokita is still there. I mean, I'm asking this linguistically more from that perspective. I mean, you have Abha, like you can say Abhaswara. That will also give you light and sound. I mean, if you break it that way. So even that is possible, why? And actually, it is also possible to simply say Aloka instead of Abha, and you can still get Aloka and Swara, Aloka, Swara, something of that sort. So, I mean, can you please explain that a bit? I probably missed the point there.
No, it is actually Karashima Seishi who came up with the idea that the translation by Dharmaraksha, which is Abha and then Loka and then Svara, how to explain this Abha. And he explains it as a possible Prakrit form instead of Ava. But the Loka is still there. So the world is still there, which should not be there actually, because to behold, there is no world in Avalokita. It just means beheld, observed. It's not, but the Chinese interpretation saw a world in there, and the Chinese interpretation also saw Abha in there instead of Ava. But this translation did not last long, and most Chinese today do not even know that was ever translated like that. They don't use this old Lotus Sutra translation by Dharmaraksha. They use Kumarajiva's one, and Kumarajiva's is Guan Shiyin. He only changed the Abha to Guan, to Guan. He did away with the Abha, correcting that. But he kept the world, the Shi, he kept that. Because as I said, he probably did not want to alienate the Buddhist believers from their own terminology. He could not afford to bring too many corrections or changes, because that would confuse the Buddhist population at that time. That was a big problem, I'm sure, when they changed terminology from Prakrit-based to Sanskrit-based. And the Svara is there, yes, it's Svara.
Professor Willemen, Thank you very much for very illuminating analysis of Avalokitesvara and its cultural etymology. And it was very interesting to hear that Avalokitesvara is a female or a feminine thing in Chinese tradition. This particular assertion is philosophically very significant. Does it have any further connection to the development of philosophy towards maybe feminism in China or anything like Buddhist feminism in the Chinese tradition? Can you throw light on this further development because of the feminine character of Avalokitesvara?
So as I said, the becoming female is the result of the Chinese cultural environment in the 5th century in South. Is the general term. So in Mantrayana Buddhism, even in India, he is female. But this has to do, well, Mantrayana can be explained like this. You know, it is Sarvastivana Buddhism because that's their Vinaya. But in their yoga, their yogic practice, in their yoga achara, they take in, this time they take in Hindu yoga in Mantrayana, where then that explains the female aspect in the Mantrayana in India. So the origin is different. The origin of the female Avalokitesvara in India is quite different from the origin of the female Avalokitesvara in China. As you may have noticed, I do not actually attach too much importance to philosophy, but more to practical developments and realities. This is a sounder basis than I think this and you think that and we think that, and the discussion never ends like that. So practical realities, that's what I start from.
Etymologically and from the linguistic point of view, it's a Sanskrit word. Sanskrit root is from luka, avalokate, means sees. That means one has a vision. Avalokita means visionary. Etymologically, that would be the meaning. And avaloka, like avagachami, I know. Ava is a prefix, and look is a look, English look also, to see. So avalokate. So avalokita means past passive participle. One who has seen, one who has a vision. And Ishvara is the best of it. The visionary par excellence. That could be the etymological meaning.
It is certainly the Sanskrit meaning. But before there was Sanskrit, there was Prakrit. And so before 400 AD, the East Asian translations were based on Prakrit, on mainly Gandhari Prakrit. So, but from 400 on, it is the Sanskrit, it's true.
The vision is Sanskrit comes first, and then Prakrit comes. Because what we see in Indian context, all Indian languages, they have been derived from Sanskrit. And from Sanskrit came Prakrit. Like there was no Marathi in 13th century. It was Maharashtri Prakrit. And the word from Sanskrit, there is a simplification. That becomes Prakrit. Like
it starts with Prakrit, becomes Sanskrit, and then Prakrit comes in again.
There is a difference of opinion.
That's the... No, it's not.
We disagree.
This is no opinion, sir. This is fact.
We agree to disagree.
If we see, let us base on the East Asian translations. Before 400 AD, 80%, there are always exceptions, 80% is based on Gandhari Prakrit. And after 400, it's based on Sanskrit. So the main Buddhist language, which left India, which gives us an idea of what happened in India, is Prakrit before 400 AD. And then Sanskrit, and then in Mantrayana times, the Prakrit comes in again in the form of Apabhramsha. It's in the mantras mainly, but not only in the mantras. So this is the development. This is not a philosophical discussion. This is a textual one. But thank you for your interest, sir.
Thank you for the explanation. Madam had said about Guan Yin, and there is a Sanskrit word, Kanya. Kanya means a woman, a female, feminine, they say. So, and I found that even traveling in south and southeast, there are words like Tamil words like Shengotayan, Shengota, Sheng. These words I've seen even people with similar names in Southeast Asia. So do you see some connection with, again, because I agree with sir, that Sanskrit words may have, or Tamil words could have connected there?
Who do you ask this question to, sir?
First, I have to say sorry because I'm research about the image of Buddhism art. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. I don't know how to say.
I would like to say a lot, sir, but I guess lunch is waiting, and this is more important than what I have to say. No, Guan Shi Yin, the term of Kumarajiva, is meant to translate Avalokitesvara, really. Yin means svara, sound, and Avalokita, beheld, observed. This Guan Shi Yin, but a disciple of Kumarajiva, even still in the first half of the 5th century, dropped the superfluous Shi world and came up with Guan Yin. And I gave you 2 reasons. Probably it looks like a monastic name, which for a monk looks better than Guan Shi Yin. And then the second reason is that Guan Yin can be used for females, because before that he was male, even in China. So he became little by little female, and so a name should be used that is possibly female. Guan Yin is such a name. So there were a few reasons why Guan Shi Yin changed to Guan Yin, and because in China he is completely female and stayed female until this day, so Guan Yin was very popular and very current appellation. But Guan Shi Yin never died out, you know. And as I said, Xuanzang is correction to Avalokita plus Ishvara. Avalokitesvara is correct. Sanskrit, it's correct. But for China, this is strange, because it's a male name. So that's why Guan Shi Yin and Guan Yin stayed so popular. And Avalokitesvara for Guan Zizai actually never became that popular. Of course, the influence of Xuanzang is enormous, but not to the point of being unreasonable and unacceptable. So Xuanzang, as I said, he corrects everything. I don't like the fellow, really. You know, he just corrects even if it's not necessary. You know, Jibin should be Kashmira. No, it should not be Kashmira. It should be Jibin, you know. But he refers to the Kashmira part of Jibin and calls that Kashmira. That is correct, of course. But if the whole Northwest is still Jibin, including Kashmira, should not correct this. So this correcting, and Paramartha was a very great scholar. And he did great work in South China. But that's another thing. All those Indians arriving in China, how could they make all those translations? One should think about that, you know. because they did not know Chinese. So how did they make all those translations? I came to the idea because of the Loca-Marcel Sutra, where there is teaching without words. Of course, Gunapadra did not know Chinese, so he had to explain teaching without words. That made sense. But he wrote a text, he gave it to Bao Yun, a monk who knew Chinese, who knew Sanskrit. He had been to Gandhara together with Fa Xian, but from there he had returned home. But he knew Sanskrit, and he could translate what the Brahmin Gunabhadra had written down, the Loca-Marcel Sutra, teaching without words. So, but of course, Bao Yun was a civilized person, and he did not say, I translated this. He said, it's Gunabhadra who is responsible for that. So those translations are attributed to all those Indians because they are the source of all that literature, of all those texts. But I'm sure they did not really translate, because how could they? When you just arrive in India as a Chinese, I can assure you, your Sanskrit is poor, very poor. But they worked with local Chinese who knew some Sanskrit, and the text is the result of this translation under the guidance of the Indian source. So, and then it was attributed to the Indian. Because it's important. People just automatically assume all those translations were made by Indians. It's not true, of course. They didn't know the language. And, but they guided the local talent to the result we know. There is so much more to say, sir.
If there are no more questions, we will move to the felicitation ceremony for our keynote speaker, our chairperson, and the two speakers. I call upon our acting director, Dr. Supriya Rai, to felicitate the keynote speaker, Professor Wang Chung. Professor, may I invite you on stage? May I now ask Dr. Rai to felicitate the chairperson, Dr. A P Jamkhedkar. Dr. Rai, can you please felicitate Professor Willemen? And finally, Professor Li-Ling. Thank you, Dr. Rai.